You know that feeling when someone knocks on your door late at night and your stomach just drops? That was me last Tuesday, 11:47 p.m. Through the peephole, I see this uncomfortable-looking process server, and I'm thinking, what could this possibly be about? Then he hands me the papers, and I kid you not, it's a restraining order. Against my dog. My 20-pound corgi named Milo, who was at that very moment snoring on his back with his little legs in the air. The document claimed he was, and I quote, a continuing threat to the safety and well-being of the plaintiff. The plaintiff? Karen Thompson, our HOA president, who lived 2 houses down and had apparently decided that my sleepy corgi was public enemy number 1. But here's the thing, and this is why you need to hear this whole story. This wasn't really about Milo at all. This was about something much bigger, much darker. And by the time I figured out what was really going on, Karen would be facing criminal charges, our entire HOA would be under investigation, and my little corgi would become an unlikely hero. So grab a coffee, get comfortable, and let me tell you how one power-hungry HOA president's vendetta against a corgi exposed a massive fraud scheme and united an entire neighborhood. And trust me, the ending is even better than you're imagining. Let me back up about 3 months. I'm Dex. I work in IT from home, and I'd been living in this quiet Scottsdale neighborhood for about 3 years with my best buddy Milo. Now, when I say Milo is lazy, I mean this dog has to be convinced that walks are worth his time. His favorite activities are sunbathing, eating, and watching TV. Yes, he actually watches TV. He's obsessed with nature documentaries. Before moving in, I'd done everything right. Read the entire HOA handbook cover to cover, all 52 pages of mind-numbing rules about mailbox colors and grass height. The pet section was straightforward. 1 dog per household under 40 pounds must be leashed in common areas, current on vaccinations. Milo qualified easily at 25 pounds of pure fluff and stumpy legs. For 3 years, everything was perfect. The neighbors loved Milo. Kids would line up to pet him during our evening walks. Mrs. Chen from across the street would save him special treats. Even our usual UPS driver kept dog biscuits specifically for him. We were just part of the neighborhood, you know? Then Karen became HOA president. Now I need you to picture Karen, early 50s, always dressed like she's about to sell you a house you can't afford. Drives this white Lexus with, I'm not kidding, magnetic signs she'd made that said, HOA president, keeping our standards high. Within her first week, she'd installed suggestion boxes only she had keys to, mandated that all complaints go through her personal email, and started these daily patrols where she'd drive around at 5 miles per hour, taking photos of anything she deemed a violation. But she had this weird fixation on documenting everything. She carried a measuring tape to check if your garbage cans were the regulation distance from the curb. She had a color wheel to verify if your door paint was an approved shade. And she had this expensive camera with a telephoto lens that she'd use to photograph violations from the street. Looking back, I should have seen the warning signs when she started focusing on Milo. It started on a completely normal Sunday. I was in my garage organizing tools. Garage door open for air. Milo was on his long training lead in the driveway, the kind that lets him wander about 15 feet but keeps him secure. He was absolutely demolishing this squeaky toy shaped like a taco, just having the time of his life. Then I hear this slow engine sound. Karen's Lexus is creeping up the street at maybe 3 miles per hour. She stops right in front of my house, doesn't even pull over properly, just stops in the middle of the road and rolls down her window. That dog is unsupervised, she announces. No hello, no how are you, just straight to accusations. I stepped out where she could see me clearly. I'm literally right here, Karen. He's on a lead and I'm watching him. And then this is when I knew something was off. She pulls out an actual ruler from her passenger seat. Like a wooden school ruler, she holds it up and goes, HOA guidelines specify supervision means within arm's reach. You're approximately 12 feet away. Before I could even respond, she's taking photos. Flash going off in broad daylight, getting angles of Milo, of me, of the garage. Then she says, consider this your verbal warning. Next violation is a $200 fine. As she drove away, still going about 3 miles per hour, I noticed her stopping at other houses, measuring the height of the Johnson's garden gnome, photographing the Garcia's supposedly brown patch of grass. But something about how long she'd stayed at my house, the way she'd smiled when she said fine, it felt personal. Over the next 2 weeks, It became clear Milo and I were being specifically targeted. Karen would happen to drive by whenever we went for walks. She'd appear with her camera if Milo was in the backyard. She even started posting in our community Facebook group, never mentioning Milo by name but dropping hints about certain pet owners who thought rules didn't apply to them. Then came the big move. Thursday morning, everyone in the neighborhood wakes up to this email blast from Karen. The subject line, urgent, safety concern regarding aggressive animal. The email had 3 photos of Milo, all taken with that telephoto lens from distance. The message said, "While I cannot name specific animals due to legal reasons, residents should be aware that some dogs in our community have displayed aggressive tendencies. Our children's safety must come first." Now let me be clear about Milo's aggressive tendencies. This dog is afraid of butterflies. He once got cornered by a duck at the park and I had to rescue him. The most aggressive thing he's ever done is steal a sandwich from my coffee table when I wasn't looking, but the damage was done. Some of Karen's friends, and surprise, they were all on the HOA board or in her book club, started commenting about how they'd always felt unsafe and how property values depend on family-friendly environments. I was furious, but my paralegal friend Marcus gave me golden advice. Document everything. Save every email, every post. Take photos of her taking photos of you. HOAs rely on residents not keeping records. Be the exception. So I started a file, screenshots, timestamps, even a spreadsheet logging every interaction. I had no idea how important this would become. 2 weeks later, things went nuclear. I was at a client meeting in Phoenix when my phone started blowing up. The HOA had sent an emergency safety alert to all residents claiming a medium-sized brown dog had aggressively charged a child at the community playground, causing the child to fall and scrape their knee. No names mentioned, but the description was obviously meant to implicate Milo. The email ended with, "The board takes these incidents seriously and will take all necessary actions to ensure resident safety." Here's the problem. I had receipts. Literal receipts. Parking receipt from Phoenix, time-stamped at 10:47 a.m. Meeting calendar showing my client appointment from 11 to 2. And most importantly, 12 time-stamped photos from the doggy daycare where Milo spent the day, showing him playing with other dogs during the exact time of this alleged incident. I immediately replied, all with the evidence. Keeping my tone professional. I'm concerned about the accuracy of this alert. As documented below, my dog was 60 miles away at the time of this incident. I request an immediate correction to prevent false information from damaging any resident's reputation. Karen's response came within minutes, but only to me. Your hostile and aggressive tone has been noted. The board will be discussing your attitude problem at the next meeting. No correction was ever sent. This is where everything changed. After the fake incident, I started digging into Karen's past. Why was she so obsessed with Milo? What was her endgame? I reached out to Janet, who'd been HOA treasurer before Karen took over. We met for coffee and what she told me was shocking. She's done this before, Janet said, sliding me a folder. The Nguyens 2 years ago said their cat was a nuisance. The Martinez family the year before claimed their rabbit hutch violated codes. Same pattern every time, but why? I asked. What's the point of harassing pet owners? Janet's expression darkened. Look at what happened after each family moved. The pattern was stunning. Every targeted family sold their house within 6 months of the harassment starting. Every house was purchased by the same LLC, Phoenix Property Solutions. And every house was flipped within a year for a massive profit. Now look up who owns Phoenix Property Solutions, Janet said. My jaw dropped. The registered agent was Karen's brother-in-law. It was a scam. Karen would harass families with pets until they sold. Her brother-in-law would buy the houses below market value, then flip them for huge profits. They'd done it 3 times already. Milo and I were just the next targets. Armed with this knowledge, I installed security cameras, some visible as deterrents, others hidden for evidence. I also started researching HOA law and found something interesting. Karen had been authorizing payments to various companies for neighborhood maintenance. Guess who owned those companies? But the real break came at 2:31 a.m. on a Thursday night. My hidden camera motion alerts went off. The footage was crystal clear. Karen, dressed in all black, creeping into my yard. She went straight to Milo's outdoor water bowl and poured something from a small bottle into it. Then she scattered what looked like chocolate pieces near his doghouse. I immediately called 911. Didn't touch anything to preserve evidence. The responding officer took one look at the footage and called for a detective. The substance in the water tested positive for antifreeze, sweet tasting but deadly to dogs. The chocolate was baker's chocolate, also toxic to dogs. Karen had tried to poison Milo. The arrest happened the next morning. Karen, in her designer pajamas, being led away in handcuffs while the entire neighborhood watched. The news spread faster than wildfire. Someone, definitely not me, but I have my suspicions it was Mrs. Chen, called the local news. An emergency HOA meeting was called for that evening, not by Karen, obviously, but by the vice president citing a clause about criminal investigations of board members. The community center was packed. A news crew was there. Even people who'd never attended an HOA meeting in their lives showed up. Karen arrived with her lawyer, but her support had evaporated. Even her book club friends sat on the opposite side of the room. When she tried to speak, claiming this was all a misunderstanding, someone played the security footage on the projector screen. You could hear gasps throughout the room. The vote to remove her was 127 to 3. The 3 being Karen, her husband, and mysteriously one other person who literally ran out immediately after voting. But the real bombshell came when the new board president announced they'd hired a forensic accountant to review the HOA finances given the serious nature of recent discoveries. The forensic audit was devastating. Over 3 years, Karen had embezzled $47,000 through fake maintenance companies, all owned by her relatives. She'd been using HOA funds as her personal ATM while using HOA rules as a weapon to generate real estate deals. The district attorney, already building a case for attempted animal cruelty and poisoning, added embezzlement, fraud, and conspiracy charges. The State Real Estate Commission launched an investigation. Even the IRS got involved for unreported income. During the trial, everything came out. The 3 previous families testified about their harassment. The Nguyens had actually installed cameras too and had footage of Karen spray painting their cat with a hose at 3 a.m. The Martinez family had recordings of threatening voicemails. The judge, who mentioned he had 2 dogs himself, didn't hide his disgust. His exact words were, "You weaponized a position of trust to terrorize families, attempted to poison an innocent animal, and stole from your neighbors. This wasn't just criminal, it was cruel." Karen got 18 months in prison, 3 years probation, and had to pay back all the stolen money plus damages. Her brother-in-law lost his real estate license. Their property flipping LLC was dissolved. The HOA implemented massive reforms: financial transparency requirements, term limits, a recall mechanism that board members couldn't block, and my personal favorite, they passed Milo's Law, which states no action can be taken against any pet without documentation from either a licensed veterinarian or law enforcement. But the best part? The community rallied around Milo. He became a local celebrity. The pet store gave him free treats for life. The local animal shelter named him their honorary ambassador. Kids stop us on walks to ask if he's the famous dog who caught the bad lady. We raised $15,000 for the animal shelter with a Justice for Milo fundraiser. The local news did a follow-up story 6 months later about how the neighborhood had come together stronger than ever. Karen's house? Sold in foreclosure after the legal fees bankrupted her. The family who bought it has 2 golden retrievers and 3 cats. Sometimes karma has a sense of humor. So what's the takeaway from all this? A few things, actually. First, always document everything when dealing with difficult neighbors or HOAs. That paper trail saved us. Second, when something feels personal and targeted, trust your instincts. There's usually more going on beneath the surface. Third, and most importantly, never underestimate the power of community. When Karen's scheme was exposed, neighbors who hadn't spoken in years united to fight back. As for Milo, he's sleeping at my feet right now, blissfully unaware he's an internet legend. He still barks at butterflies, still afraid of ducks, still the laziest dog in Arizona. But he's also the dog who exposed corruption, brought a neighborhood together, and proved that sometimes the smallest heroes come with the waggiest tails. If you've dealt with an HOA nightmare or have a crazy neighbor story, drop it in the comments. And hey, give your pets an extra treat today. You never know when they might save your neighborhood. Thanks for listening to this wild ride. Trust me, I couldn't have made this up if I tried.